Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's video. In this week's video, what we're going to do is continue on from the Deathmatch series. And in the previous two videos, which I released at the same time, obviously I mentioned a few things didn't quite go to plan. Now, I have resolved some of those, but unfortunately I haven't resolved the whole problem, which means I'm going to slightly swerve this video as well into a different direction. Now, some of you will be waiting for this anyway, so not to worry. We're going to do the AI in this video. Now, depending on how long this takes to record, I want to at least guarantee that by the end of it, you'll have an AI player that will chase you around. Not necessarily shoot, but depending on the time, we may get to that. But I want to, at a minimum, at least have a character that chases you around and that you can shoot. So, without talking too much, let's just jump straight into it because I am conscious of the time. Now, you'll notice here on the screen I've got this behaviour tree quick start guide. Now, I will be following along with this. Now, I'm doing this for two reasons. One, if later on in this video, if I run into any issues, once I start to manipulate this behaviour tree to start shooting at the player, I've got some sort of common ground that I can rely on, and common ground being this guide that I can say that it was built from. So if I do run into any issues that I myself don't understand, I can reach out to a few people that may be able to help me with a few bits and pieces, because I don't know everything, but I certainly like to learn. And the other thing is, if anything doesn't work for yourself, you can always have a go through this document and try to fix your issue yourself. But I always try to reply to every comment, so if you do get stuck, give me a comment and I'll try and assist you where I can. I've gone through this guide almost every time I do an AI system, so a lot of things will be familiar for me. However, there are things that I tend to miss out. If you don't do these things every single day, what's the saying? If you don't use it, you lose it. And you know, AI is not something I typically do that often. Anyway, enough talking. Let's get on with it. So like I said, I'm going to go through the guide. So there may be a few pauses where I'm just reading up little bits and pieces, but I'll try to minimize that as much as possible. I am going to try and get ahead on the reading before I do it, so you don't see much of an issue. But if that happens, that's why. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a folder called AI. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a copy of my UE4 ASP character, or my player character. So I'm going to drag that in there, I'm going to copy. So with that in there, I'm actually going to rename this to AI player. And then what we're going to do is we are going to create an AI controller. So you want to open up all classes and you want to type in AI, and you should have AI controller here. And then I'm just going to call this AC underscore bot, or bots, I guess. Bot may be more appropriate because it's just going to be per singular player. But yeah, that's that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to open up the AI player. Now, at some point, I am going to go back through here and I'm going to strip out some of these bits and pieces that are just never going to be used for the AI player. And I'm seeing that the compile button is red already, so I'm just going to hit compile and see what this issue is. So the AI player object reference is not compatible. So let's click on that. I'm just going to figure out what's going on. So this is to receive damage, and this is going to cast to get whoever. Why is this not correct? So I'm going to just delete that for now, and I'm going to drag back off here and cast to UE4. Let's just see if this fixes it. I think the reference may have just got muddled up here. Get kills, well, not killer, kills. If you have the same issue, essentially I've just relinked this up. Hit compile. There we go, that fixed that. Not too sure why that happened, but if you do get that, I've literally just casted to this UE4 character. once again. Okay, so one thing that they recommend is you want to go to your character movement, and they actually recommend that you lower the walk speed down to 120. Now, I think this is just to prevent the character from actually catching you. It's more of a slow walk. It's more of a walk. Again, that'll give us a little head start on getting them. Getting the AI killing them, let me say. So the AI player, let's select the AI player, and then this is where we're going to need to select under pawn the AI controller class. So we've just made one. We called it AC bot. So if you click on AI controller, which is the default, and select AC bot, I like to hit compile. Let's get ahead here. Also, the AI controller, for it to be able to move around in the world, it kind of needs a boundary setting up to say you're all right to walk anywhere in this area, and that's what's called a nav mesh bound. Now that should be under the volumes on the left hand side under your place actors. So under volumes, and if we go to nav mesh bounds volume, we can drag that in. Now by default it is quite small, so I'm just going to press R on the keyboard, and I'm just going to, shall I drag the center one? No, I'm going to change it manually like that, and then like that, and I'm just going to cover the whole area. I'm going to press W, and I'm just going to shift it over just a little bit. R again, make it bigger, there we go. Beautiful. Now one thing you can do, whoops, I've just deselected that actually. Find my nav mesh bounds again. Now I believe if I press the P key on the keyboard, I'm just going to move it and press P. Now you can see this little green squares appeared here, which is not what I want. There we go. I've just moved it down now. So pressing the P key, what that's done is it's made the nav mesh visible. So you can see now anywhere that's highlighted in green, once we've set up the controller for the AI, this will be considered the area it is allowed to move in. If you hit P again, it should deactivate that. So that's just a little neat trick there if you want to see what area your AI has. And I will just add this in, if that isn't covering as much area as you want, so for example you can see that there are gaps around the boundaries or around the edges of objects. To edit that, you actually want to go to, I think it may be project settings, and then under engine you want to go to nav mesh, and you can mess around with cell size, cell height, depending on if you've got slopes, and then your merge region, and I'd just mess around with a combination of all these. But yeah, your sort of cell size, cell height, your agent height and radius, they're typically things that are going to contribute to that. Have a go, and that may possibly fix some of them. If not, I'd have a quick Google on your specific issues, or like I had an issue once with doorways. I had to change my agent radius, so that my agent was considered smaller. But yeah, little bonus tip there. So once we've done that, we've got the nav mesh bounds. Great. So now what we want to do is we want to come back to this contents folder, and we want to right click, and we want to go to artificial intelligence, and we want a blackboard. So I'm going to call this BB bot. Yep. And we're going to go inside that blackboard, and we're going to add a new key, and this is going to be type object, and we're going to call this one bot actor. In the guide they actually call it enemy actor, but I'm going to go for bot. I may regret doing that later, however at the moment we're going to stick with that. So the entry name's bot actor, and we're going to drop down this key type, and the base class is going to be actor. There we go. And then we want to create a new key, and we want it to be a bool, and we want it to be called has line of sight. Of sight. Oh, I can't see my mic's right in front of my keyboard, so that's my excuse for typing it incorrectly this week. So it has line of sight, and it is set to a bool. And then one more, we're going to add a vector, and this one's going to be patrol location. And then for this one, it's just going to be a vector. Once that's set up, we need to then do a behavior tree. So save that, go back to your example map, right click, add in an artificial intelligence behavior tree. And this is going to be Bt_bot for myself. But by all means, they've called it BT enemy. Now, this is where really all the decision making is sort of placed. Now, just a little side note, you can actually control AI through blueprints with similar sort of call functions. However, I'm not familiar with it, but it is possible. That may be something that you might want to look into. I might do a video in it in the future, but it was just something I came across the other day when looking into this. Okay, so on the right hand side, we should have the behavior tree already assigned as BB_bot. If it's not, just drop down here and select your blackboard, but it's pretty good at auto assigning itself. And then what we want to do is we want to drag off this root, and we want a selector. So a selector will go, whatever branches off a selector, let's say you've got 3 items, it'll go from the left, then to the middle, then to the right. It'll go from left to right, essentially, and it'll go in an order. It's got a sequence, let's say, from left to right. Now, they renamed this node to AI root. That's what we'll do as well. And then we're going to drag off here, and we're going to want a sequence. Okay, and they've renamed the sequence to chase player. And then they're going to have another sequence, and they've renamed this one to patrol. Okay, so let's scroll down. Now you can see, I'm just going to highlight what they've highlighted because it's worth knowing. So as you can see, they're all numbered. So from the root, this is going to happen first, number 0, then it's going to go to 1, and then it's going to go to 2, because your selector goes from left to right. If you were to rearrange these, you should see the numbers automatically update. So now, because this is to the leftmost side of the chase player, this has become number 1, and then this has become number 2. So when you're putting stuff in order, please be aware of that. It will go. The numbers are the order of execution. So if something's not working in the order that you're expecting, that may be the reason why. Just drag that over. And they have now added a wait. So a wait is a pre-built task that is already defined, and the wait time is 5 seconds. By default, we just want to reset that to 1. So by the sounds of it, it's going to run through this. It's going to chase the player. Then at some point it's going to patrol, which I'm going to assume is going to be if there's no target to chase, let's patrol, then wait, and then repeat. It's going to repeat that process, you know. Patrol, have a look around. If you've spotted a player, chase them. If not, patrol, continue. Okay, so off the chase player now, we're gonna do we're gonna do a rotate to face BB entry. Now BB entry is blackboard, so obviously in our blackboard we're gonna have sort of like actors and stuff like that linked up. Go back to the behavior tree. So rotate to face, and we're going to rotate to face the bot actor. See, now I knew I was going to be wrong by naming that bot actor. We're going to go for enemy actor, because actually this is what the bot has line of sight of. So this is saying that we're going to be chasing. Change that to enemy actor. This is saying rotate and face the enemy that we've spotted. Now, because this is the AI, that's more appropriate. So just to clarify what I did there, I went back to the blackboard and I've just renamed my bot actor to enemy actor, just to make it more descriptively correct. That's how you would. So with that done, then what we're going to do is we're going to create a new task, and this task by default is just called like BT all sorts of junk. If you go back to your main map, you'll see that it's placed it in the folder with your blackboards and stuff. We can rename this to BTT. This is behavior tree task underscore chase player. And then you can go back into it, and you'll see at the top here that it's automatically changed that. It seems like we're going to set up this behavior tree first. So ignoring the chase player you've just created, go back to your behavior tree and plug that in, and then we want to move to. And the move to is probably going to be set to enemy actor. So rotate to face, chase, and then move to actor. Okay. So just trying to get ahead here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move these over because we're going to be adding some more stuff to patrol now. So we're going to need to make another new task. And it's a bit annoying that you can't rename it within it. Probably can, but I'm just going to nip back to the content browser in your map, and you'll see the new task we've just made. And that's going to be BTT underscore find random patrol. Now this is probably going to be a patrol location. Again, ignoring what you've just made, go back to your behavior tree, and you're going to want BTT find random patrol. Okay, and then we're going to do another move too, and this is going to be patrol location. So this is going to find that location and set it. So after it's patrolled and moved, we're going to want to wait one more time. So we'll do a wait, and by default we'll set this to 1, but then have a random deviation of also 1. So that means that it can be 3 seconds or it could be 5 seconds. So it's plus or minus 1 second. Do we have enough space here? Yeah, you know what? I think we do. Okay. So let's set up the chase player. So if we head over to the BTT chase player, we're going to look for an execute function, which is an event, and it's going to be received. So we're going to look for an event received execute AI. Now you've got to start all of these events with this, but you've also got to finish as well. So you've got to finish execute. It is quite particular. You need to say there's a start and an end with these. I'm getting ahead of myself here. If you are following through the guide, I'm aware that that's the case, and typically I forget, so I like to just do the start and end up front. Okay, so what they want to do here is they want to cast 2, and now for me, it's going to be AI player. And that's whatever you've called your AI. Getting ahead here. Okay, so what they're doing now is they're actually... Let's open up our AI player. So what we're doing now is we're going to be updating our walk speed based on if we have spotted somebody or not. Because at the beginning, if you remember, we did change the max walk speed of the character movement to 120, and then we're going to increase that back up to a proper run speed once we've spotted somebody. So it's just going to kind of coast around the map until it's spotted somebody. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to add a function, and this function is going to be update walk speed. And in this function, we're going to need an input, and this input's going to be new walk speed. Okay, new walk speed, and this one's going to be a float, and we're going to drag off this and set max walk. Why is that not an option? Okay, we need to drag in our character movement. Set max. Oh, and walk. There we go. So the reason I couldn't get max walk speed is because I wasn't making a reference to character movement. I assumed that it would know that max walk speed was a part of that, but proves me wrong all the time, I guess. And then our new walk speed is going to be our max walk speed. We're going to update that. Okay, so if you hit compile, and then now we can go back to our chase player. As the AI player, if we do update walk speed, this is going to tap into that now. And then we can set what our max walk speed is going to be. Now I'm just going to set this to 300. Now, that's not just a random number I've pulled out of anywhere. Let me explain where I've got that number from. So if I go back to the first person example map and go back to the blueprints and get my character, this is the one we use to run around. If you click on the movement component, and you'll see the max walk speed is 270. I've set it to 300, so then it will be faster than us. Not by much, but by enough that we have got to be on our best behaviour, and we've got to outsmart the AI. It adds a bit of pressure and a bit of competition to it. So it wasn't just, you can set this to whatever you want, but the reason I've set it to 300 is I want to challenge myself. Okay. And once you've done that, we want to finish. And we want to tick that it's successful. And let's duplicate this. And if it wasn't successful, it's probably because this cast failed. So just make that look a bit like that. Make sure that once you've duplicated this for the failure, you've put that as a non-success. Alternatively, what you can do as well is you can drag off this and promote this to a variable and put this as chase speed. That way you can set it within the behavior tree. So that's 300. Making sure that you've also set it to instance editable, and that'll make sure that it's visible in other in the behavior tree. So let's do that. Let's go back to the behavior tree, and you'll see now there the behavior tree, the chase player that we've just edited now has this chase speed built into it. So you can update that however you want. Okay, let's do the find patrol. so BTT random patrol. Let's do the event received execute AI. Again, we're going to cast to our AI player. We're going to do a finish execute unsuccessful, and then I'm going to do another one which is successful for when we've finished. And we want to call the update walk speed again. Plug that into there. But this time we want to promote this to a variable, and let's call this one control speed. Compile. What's the issue? Oh, obviously. Don't forget to tag that up. So patrol speed, we don't want that set to. Well, we set it to 120 for the walk speed. But if we are patrolling, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to leave it as 120. And again, make that instance editable, so then you can edit it within your behavior tree. Okay. So let's see what else they've got. What are we going to do next? So we're going to need to get a random point, aren't we? Because we're in the find random patrol. So this is get actor location, because we need a reference to where we are now to make sure we find something far enough away. And then there's actually a cool node called get random reachable point. There's a get random point in navigable radius. Now what that'll do is every area that you saw was green earlier when I showed you the preview of the nav bounds. Basically, if a part of that green area was behind a wall, that you'd have to go over the top to get to it. That area that was walled off wouldn't be reachable. So it would actually fail. So if you use the node get random reachable point, it'll make sure that your character has the ability to get to that every time. So this is usually the safer option to go for. Just so you know the difference, this is the safer one to pick from. So from our actor location, we're going to plug that into the origin, and then a radius. So basically from this origin, where I'm currently stood, how far away do I want to patrol? So it'd be good if you promote this to a variable and call this patrol radius. Patrol radius. And by default, I'm going to set this to 500 because we are on the example map. Where that might be a bit too small. Let's go for the 1000 that they recommend, and see what happens. So what that's going to be is where I'm stood now, it'll go probably in a circle that far. So it won't go from edge to edge. I mean, you could max it out, just patrols everywhere, but you can't, he's going to walk there anyway. So move these over, because if this returns sort of yes, I got a reachable point, we only want to do something if that's true. If this returns a value of no, I wasn't successful at getting this, well, we don't want to do anything with it because it's going to be wrong then. What we want to do is we're going to need to make a reference to this location. So do I want to promote it to a variable? Or can we set a blackboard value? Here we go. So set blackboard value as a vector. And if you were successfully true, we want to go off this. Now we need a key. We need to actually provide it with a key. let's see if our patrol. Okay. Okay, promote that to a variable. I've had to rely on the guide here. They promote that to a variable and call that patrol location. And they've set that value in there, and that goes to, whoa, that goes to finished. And they have duplicated this, and they've taken their actor location as a value for the same key, even if it's false. Oh, I see. So if it's false, they've actually taken their actor's location. Okay, so essentially they're not actually moving anywhere, but they're still covering it. Okay, that's fair enough. And they're actually considering that a success as well. So in actual fact, that cast failure isn't recorded, which I don't know if that's right, but that's what they recommend. So let's hit compile. So what we've got is we're casting to our AI, we're updating our walk speed, we're getting our actor's location and setting that as is starting as an origin point to look for a place to patrol to. If that succeeds at finding a patrol point, it sets it as a key, which I think we're going to link up in just a sec with the blackboard. If not, it doesn't really move anywhere because it sets its own location as the place to travel to. Okay, so scrolling down, they actually do take the cast failed to a finish. Finish execute. So I wasn't wrong. I just didn't read far enough down. So off the cast fail, set that to an unsuccessful finish. Okay, so the AI controller setup now. So if we go back to our map and we look at our AI folder and we go to our AC bot, in the event graph, what they do is on event possess, go on event possesses, we want to run a behavior tree. That behavior tree is going to be the BT bot file. So this is going to run. Then what we want to do is we want to, where are we adding that? So we're going to add some AI perception, which is basically a sense, which is going to be vision. It's going to be sight. In the components window, let me just double check we're in the right place. In the controller, add a component, right? So let's add the component, and we want to go down to AI perception. Component, that's correct. Within that AI perception, we want to add a sense. So here we've got a sense config. We want to add a sense. Under 0, we want to add AI sight. And under that, under sense, let's make sure we've go for detection by affiliation. We want to detect neutrals and enemies. Whoop! I just hit my mic there. Sorry about that. And we want to react to this. So on event, here we go. At the bottom of your AI perceptions site, at the bottom you've got when we perceive a target update, we want to do something. And if our actor has a tag of player, oh, I see what they're doing. Actor tag. And if that tag is player, returns true, and this stimulus, if we break the stimulus, that was successfully sensed. So if the target is updated, because of the stimulus, and the actor that we have targeted is player, which we haven't set yet. Bear in mind we haven't set that just yet. It's true using a branch. Pull off the stimulus, the branch. That is true. Oh, I see how they're doing it. They're not doing the true just yet. They're covering the false just before we do that. They're actually setting a timer. Set timer by event. So what they're doing here is they're actually setting a cooldown time of like, okay, you've not spotted who we wanted. Have a bit of a cool off and then try again. So for the time, so basically this timer will repeat an event which we've not set every 0 seconds in this instance, but we need to set an amount of time. So this one's going to be called line of sight timer. We compile. They have set this to 4 seconds. They're also promoting the timer to a variable. The reason that they do this is because they can then cancel this timer by creating this this handle. So this is timer handle. It's failing. Oh, it's because we've not done an event just yet. Our enemy timer. So they are dropping off here. They are creating a custom event called start enemy timer, which technically they've already done. That's already started. False. They are getting Blackboard component. They are setting a value as a bool. Oh, so this is where they're going to be changing. Have you spotted somebody to true? Again, they change the object value, so that's going to be who we've sensed. Set value as object. Link these two together and to this. So drag off this, promote to variable. This is going to be called as of site. These key names are actually quite important, so make sure that you do spell them the same as what you did in your Blackboard. I'll just let me rename this one and I'll go back to that just to show. Enemy actor. So here, for example, enemy actor. Right at the beginning of the video, I actually called this one bot actor, and I renamed it to enemy actor. So I'll hit compile just quickly. Go back to your Blackboard. You can see here, enemy actor is spelled that way. Has line of sight is spelled that way. Make sure that these match, because essentially these are the keys that are being referenced here. Key name has line of sight. Make sure it's spelled the same. Enemy actor, spelled the same. Because we're essentially plugging this in to say set this key, which is this one. Set the actor object, this one. And this is going to be set to what we're actually sensing. So this one's going to be like the actor that we're actually sensing is here. However, I am getting ahead of myself on this guide, so I am going to slow down just a little bit and scroll back up. I don't want to miss anything. So what they've done is they are clearing the timer. This is true. get. So they are clear and invalidate. So what this clear and invalidate does is this timer handle is this timer. So this timer is gonna do this function after 4 seconds. But we can cancel that by clearing and validating it. This will stop this timer from ever working again until it's false again. That's what this is doing. Yep. So, I'm just so you know, I'm up to I'm currently at number 18 under the AI controller setup. Just if I did sort of like jump around a little bit there, just so you don't get lost where we are, I am currently on 18 of AI controller setup, and I do apologize if this bit's a little bit messy. You know, there's a lot to it. I do appreciate that. Yeah, work with me. So number 18. We're essentially copying all of this. So I understand what they're doing now. I was a little bit lost because they've gone to false first. Now typically I do, if everything works, do this. If it doesn't work, do this. They've done if it doesn't work first, so they were kind of throwing me a little bit. Yeah, so we've copied all these 5, and we're just going to paste them here. And we're going to plug it into this timer. You can make it look a bit neater now. So I get what they're doing now. So when they've got a target update, once they've sensed something is true, if the actor has a tag of player is true, we're now going to take this actor and plug it in there. So we're going to set the object to run towards as the actor. And this has line of sight is now going to be true. Whereas previously, if it's false, we're going to wait 4 seconds and set them fields to blank. So you've not found anybody. Don't do anything for 4 seconds. And then essentially it'll probably repeat this then and saying like, oh, have you spotted somebody now? Yes, no? Well, do something about it. So make sure you tick that bool true on your true one, and then you're linking up your actor from the perception all the way to the object value. We're on the final stage now, so what you want to do is go to your character. Have I opened it? Nope. Go back to your first person example map, go back to your blueprints, select your UE4 ASP character. Now, on the right hand side, scroll all the way down to the bottom. We should have, oh, here we go. Oh, actor. Underneath the actor heading, you can search this. We're going to be looking for tags. Underneath actor, you'll have tags. That's actor, tags, or we can search in the details. Tags. If this doesn't come up, there's a good chance that you're not in the UE4 character itself. You may be in a capsule component, which is slightly different. It still has tags, but it's slightly different. You want to go to the actual character itself. Under tags, you want to add an element, and this is where we're going to put that player reference. So only players can be spotted by AI. I'm just going to clear that search term out. So by adding that, obviously now the AI can see you. If we nip back to our AI player, and underneath the player itself, if we scroll down, under pawn rotation, under pawn controller rotation, they are just saying make sure you use controller. I mean that's ticked by default, so I don't know why that's there, but it is. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the blackboard. Sorry, the behavior tree. And under chase player, we're going to add a decorator. We're going to add a blackboard decorator. And with that decorator selected, we want the observer aborts set to both, and we want the blackboard key going to be set to has line of sight. So this will only run if line of sight is met. So if there's something to chase it, essentially. And the node name is going to be as line of sight. So the blackboard has line of sight set. And according to this, if everything's gone alright, which I'm just going to press file, save all, if we then drag in one of our AI players, I'm going to put him over here, just why not, hit player. Well. Guess something's gonna miss. Let me have a little nosy to see what I've done. I'll come back to you. Okay, so after a lot longer than I wish to admit, I found the problem. There's actually two issues. Very simple, very simple, but also very important. So I do apologise that I've missed these. However, yeah, there's nothing that I can say to sort of make that better. I do apologise, but they are really simple to correct. So here we go. So not 100% certain if this was the cause of an error, but it does differ from what they recommend on the guide. It was just a simple tick box. So in your BTT find random patrol, the key, the patrol location key, I had not set to editable. So I believe that is the cause of the patrol not working. However, I could be wrong, because the next thing was a definite game breaker. So for the other issue, we go over to, I've got AC bots, which is my AI controller. Now, the AI controller takes the stimulus, checks to see if it's a player, and then it sets the blackboard values, has line of sight to true, and sets the enemy actor object to the actor that has been seen. Now, what I didn't notice I'd done is I'd created these name variables called has line of sight with the variable name. However, I'd completely missed the fact that the default value was still set to none. So the variable name was set correctly, however the default value is still blank. So this blackboard was looking for a key name called blank or none, which doesn't exist. So very simply and easily missed, but has stopped the whole thing from working. So to fix this, if you select both of your, well, not both, but one at a time, your has line of sight and your enemy actor, and you just want to copy the variable name as is and paste it. Yours will probably say none, but paste it in there, so then the variable name and the default value are the same, and then hit compile. And then when you press play, hopefully with those two fixes, if you followed me as I've done it, you've probably made the same mistakes I have. It should work. I have added some little debugging strings here because I was working through it and I was just like, well, this bit of code worked because I saw the message sensed popped up. So I knew there must have been something wrong with this assignment. because my chase player wasn't working either. And the chase player only works when the enemy actor has been submitted. So I knew it had to be something around here. So I'm gonna leave those in because they're pretty useful. If I hit play now, you can see that sensed popped up in the top left, and well, the results are right here. The guy's chasing me. Okay, and because he's quicker than me, he is going to get me. And he's too close to me, so I can't even shoot him. Okay, well I didn't think about that. There's some of my other debugging text just spamming the screen now. Go, 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 go. He cannot leave me alone anymore. Oh, there we go. Now, only if I had... Oh, there we go. Yeah, there we go. We killed him. Oh, and I killed myself. Anyway, so what we've got there now is you've got an AI character which chases you down. And let's see if we can lose him. Let's see if we can lose him. Get behind this before he catches us. I'm hoping... Oh, no, that didn't work. Tell you what we'll do. I want to make sure the patrol works. Instead of him being there, because his eyesight is really good. Let's put it there. And now he can't see me. So now he's just... Ah, there we go. So now he's just wandering off over there. Now he's coming over here. Oh, he spotted me. There we go. So now we've got a chance to kill him. There we go. Buzzing. Brilliant. In the next video, I'll definitely get him shooting. And also, just a heads up, in the next video, I'll have him shoot us back. And also, what I'll do is I will set up his respawn. So similarly, I'm struggling to say that word now. Similarly to how we respawn, I've now figured out an appropriate way to have the AI bots respawn correctly. Now, the reason I say correctly, I'll give you a little heads up. For the scoreboard to work, when we kill a bot, we can't just spawn another one, because that would be a new character. We need to retain the information of each bot in the game, and then respawn the exact same bot, so we don't get tons of new bots, because the scoreboard would be filled with just new bots. That would be the easiest way. If we wasn't doing a deathmatch with a scoreboard, this would be so much easier. However, we need to move into a little bit of networking to monitor which players are in the game, and that system typically works better with actual player controlled players, like me and you controlling it. The AI system doesn't really like working with player states and game states, but there's some workarounds. So, if you're interested to see that, please consider subscribing. That video will be coming out soon. That'll either be Wednesday or Sunday, either or. If what we covered in this video, I do again apologise for those 2 little mistakes that I've missed out, but we've cleared them up now. If other than them, this video helped you out, please consider giving me a like. Any issues whatsoever, give me a comment down below and I'll get back to you. Or if you want to recommend something that you want to see in the future, also pop that down below, and hopefully I'll get that covered at some point. But that's it from me for now. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you in another video. Thank you very much.